How you guys doing today? Today I'm making a short video. I normally don't make videos involving my air guns. I've had this air gun for about 2 years. It's a Umarex Origin. It's been a great gun up until recently. I've been having accuracy problems, and I noticed my sound would change. Every couple shots the sound would change. The point of impact where the pellet hits would change. So first thing I assumed was a bad scope. Tried a few other scopes. I got some other ones that's not in the video. No change. Tried 7 different rounds of pellets. No change. When I bought this gun, I was shooting Crossman Premier hollow points, known as CPHPs. They're cheap, easily available, and this gun was fairly accurate with it. I've taken squirrels at 80 yards headshots with this gun. But anyway, recently I had an issue. I say recently, about 3 months ago. I was shooting, my point of impact would start shifting. I'd readjust the scope, then it would shift another direction. It holds for 20-30 rounds, and eventually it got to where every time I would shoot the gun, I'd have maybe 2 or 3 accurate shots, and then it'd be strays everywhere. And I noticed I could smell burning oil. When you introduce oil in the system of an air gun, whether it's spring powered or a pre-charged pneumatic like this one, when you compress oil, it ignites, and that's what gave me the burning oil smell. It increases the velocity in feet per second, but it's inconsistent. It's hard to find accuracy. It's known as Degassing. You put a little drop of oil in your gun, you shoot, your pellet's going to be faster, it's going to be louder. It's not healthy for the gun in the long run, especially a spring powered gun. It'll burn the seals, but a lot of people do it because it makes a cool sound. The sound breaks the sound barrier, but you don't get accuracy out of it, but it does give you a lot of power. Anyway, I kept having a problem with this gun. No matter what I did, it was not accurate. So I wanted buying another gun. For one, I wanted a shorter package. I bring this with me when I go sit for my deer hunts. I carry my 357 Benjamin Bulldog with me, and then I was carrying this. So it's a lot of weight to walk a half a mile into the woods with. So I want a shorter, lighter package. Or the Umarex Notos, which I have issues with that one. I'm changing for a refund instead of tearing into it and trying to fix it. I'm gonna change for a refund. But anyway, the Notos could take the place of this gun. The purpose of the Notos was to use that one for the rest of this squirrel season until I had time to tear this one down and repair it. Well, my Notos was damaged. I'm sending it back. So I got a couple days left of squirrel season. I need a gun. I've already disassembled the gun, and I'll show you what I did and what I found. So again, all my bolts are out. There's a stock screw here, a stock screw here, and a stock screw here. It's 3 screws. When I pulled that apart, I noticed I had oil everywhere. I didn't put oil in the gun. I'm trying to figure out where it came from. There's not much information on the Umarex Origin, but this one has what's called a EPT system or EPS system. It's an ever pressure tank system. What it is, this tube is long. There's a piston in here. This side is charged with 1,000 psi of air. So when the gun is empty, that piston, which is right here, rides already here. And when you put in your field probe, which I hate, by the way, guns with field probes. Most of them come with field probes now. I'd rather a Foster quick connect built into the gun. Anyway, when you put your pressure here, I only pressure up to about 3,000. This piston slowly, as you reach like 2,000 psi, you'll hear a clunking noise, and what it is this slowly sliding back as you put in pressure. So as you put 3,000 psi on this side, or the gun's rated for I think 3650 is what it's rated for. So if you pump up 3650, the air on this side is being compressed. So this piston will stop somewhere up here. So you'll have 3650 on this side, and this side is probably 3650. It finds its equal balance. And what this does, every time you shoot, when you shoot in empty air out of your chamber, this goes a little more, and it pushes and it maintains that whatever pressure you put in that gun. It was their way of making an unregulated gun perform like a regulated gun is with this ever pressure tank system, EPT or EPS, whatever they call it these days. So every shot you fire just drops a little more and more and more. But my shots were inconsistent. So what I was thinking was happening was this was staying hung up, and as I'm shooting, my pressure's dropping and dropping and dropping on this side. And the oil, I really didn't know where the oil was coming from. I never pulled this apart. At that time, I didn't see a video of what was in it. But anyway, I pulled this out, and when I pulled this out, a bunch of oil that was behind this piston came out. It was making a mess, and the oil was bypassing the O-rings. And the O-rings don't look like they have any damage in it. But when I pulled the tube apart, that's the barrel band. When I pulled the tube apart, which before I get to that, to get this out, before you pull this tube off, you have to depressurize this end. To depressurize this end, it takes a 4mm Allen wrench. You can pull this out with pressure on it and nothing's going to happen. Once you get that Allen wrench out, I had to make a 50 thousandths diameter by 1/4 inch long. I used a small Allen wrench, a little pin. I don't know how well you're able to see that. It's very hard to mess with. I'm beginning to get old man syndrome. 43. I need reading glasses now. I have 20/20 vision, but the first 2 feet blurry. Anyway, this is a piece of Allen wrench. I don't know what size it was. I just grabbed one. I used my mic. It measured 50 thousandths diameter, and I put it in a vise about 1/4 inch, and I just broke it off flush. You have to put that inside of this tube. I don't know if this will come up on camera. Man, it's gonna be hard. Okay. In the center, there's a little hole. That little piece of Allen wrench needs to go in that hole. Once that Allen wrench is in that hole, you install your, make sure to stay center and the Allen wrench drops and it stays standing up. If it's laid over, don't put the screw in. That little piece of Allen wrench is going to drop in there about 1/8 of an inch and stay standing up in that hole. And when it does, you put the Allen screw back in and you start tightening it up. Once the Allen screw contacts that, as you tighten, it's going to push that pin and release. There's a check valve, and it degasses. It's slowly going to vent out air. You just let it vent. You don't have to tighten the screw down all the way. You just let it vent and do its thing until it is empty, until it doesn't vent anymore. Once you do that, then you can unscrew this tube. It'll be real loose. This is tight when it has pressure on it, but when you relieve the air pressure, this is very loose, and it all unscrews. And when I pulled it off, all poured out. Oil. And I done cleaned it up too. The port where the tank screws on was just covered in oil, and I had oil. You see, I cut some vent holes in my shroud for my barrel. I had oil spraying out of there. So the oil that stays on the back side of this tube. It's important to have a lot of oil for this to move freely, alright? Well, the oil apparently bypassed these 3 O-rings and got through into my pressure tank. And every time I pulled the trigger, it was dumping oil into my valve and through my transport port into my barrel. And this is shrouded. The last couple inches are shrouded. And I'll show you if you don't know. And I did wipe down my air tube. This is what came out of my air tube after I done drained all the oil and cleaned it and flushed it. And I've probably got about 3,000 rounds fired through this gun in 2 years. So it's not like it's got an excessive amount of use and wear on it. One of the first things I've done was ported my barrel. You can still see this has oil all over it. The oil was blowing. Let me show you the length. That's where it goes. So this last, I guess, 3 inches of the barrel, it's got a few little baffles in it. and it allows the air. It slows down the sound coming out. It's a built-in baffle, and the purpose of venting the tube, it lets the excess pressure and air vent out the back, and it also makes it a little bit quieter. So I had oil. You can still see there's an oil sheen all over the barrel and down to the threads. When I unscrewed this, I had oil pouring out. So my oil was definitely coming from the front half of the EPT system, which was causing my inconsistency and accuracy problems. And when the gun would not be accurate, there was a noticeable sound change, which again was an indication that it was dieseling. And sometimes I could smell burnt oil per shot. And like I said, I went through all kind of optics thinking I had an optic problem. I even tried manual flip-up iron sights, and I just could not get accuracy out of this gun anymore. And I was very frustrated with it. For a while, I quit using the gun because I lost the bolt probe, and for Umarex Origin, it's very hard to locate a bolt probe. You can find them online, but try to find one in stock. Anyway, I found my bolt probe. I was happy about that. And when I found my bolt probe, I started developing accuracy issues. I thought the oil was coming from my compressor. I do have a cheap $300 China compressor that's 4 years old. It's not coming from the compressor. I tried my hand pump. It wasn't coming from my hand pump because I also fill my other PCPs with the same pumps, and I don't have any issues with oil. Where was I going with this? Oh, let me see if I can pull this end cap off, which is highly unlikely while I pay a pliers to show you what that baffle looks like. I'm gonna have to put it in a vise to get it off. Anyway, I removed the ERT system. You make sure you degas both sides. You do have a degassing screw on your Origin. It can be accessed with the stock on. There's a hole. You crank down on that screw and it vents and degasses. You want to make sure you have zero pressure on the gun, but before you pull the tube apart, this side of the tube still has pressure. That needs to be taken care of. So yeah, it's a quick video. I didn't go third into detail how I pulled it apart. It's easy. It's just 3 screws. You degas the front. You remove the 4mm Allen screw. Install the little 50 thousandths diameter by 1/4 inch rod that you manufactured. Drop it in the hole. Make sure it's in there all the way and standing up straight. You reinstall your little 4mm set screw. You slowly crank down, and you'll hear the air coming out. It's called degassing. You degas it and just let it vent and make sure there's zero air pressure. Because if you try to unscrew this with air pressure still on this side, when your gun is empty, when this gauge reads 0, this piston should be all the way down here. It still has 1,000 psi of air on this side. So when you unscrew it, there's a possibility the tube could fly in your hand, this could fly out, becoming a projectile. You don't want to do that. So I'm not putting this back in. I'm gonna clean up all this oil, and then I'm gonna go fill it up with air, which is gonna take a lot longer to pump up. But it should greatly increase my shot count. But it's gonna be like an older PCP, so it's non-regulated, which means my shot string, you're gonna have a power band now, to where maybe the first 20 shots it'll be shooting high and it won't be grouping perfect. But after that, you're gonna find a zone. I'm just guessing with the PSI in here, maybe from 2,500 PSI, 2,800 PSI down to 2,200 PSI. You're gonna have, say, 10 to 15 shots that are gonna be hole for hole and dead accurate. That's called the power band. It takes time and a lot of shots to find your power band on any PCP that's unregulated or doesn't have an EPT system. But once you find that power band, you only fill up to, let's say this one is 2,800 PSI, that's where the power band starts. I would fill up to a 2,800 PSI fill, and then I would count my shot count, what it takes to get down to the lower end of the power band. For example, let's say it's 22. I don't know if that's what it is, I'm just using those numbers. So I would take my shot count, and let's say I get 23 shots from 28 down to 22, but they're all very accurate hole for hole. Then from now on, that's what I fill to. I don't care if the gun's rated for 36. I'm only gonna fill to 28, and I'm gonna shoot down my 23 shots or whatever my shot count is to get down to the lower end of the power band. And you find the lower end of the power band. I'm sure there's videos on it wherever your shot string, which means you have to be pretty accurate, shoot from a bench to find it, to where you're aiming in the same spot, your gun doesn't move, and when your shot string starts dropping out of a one ragged hole group the size of your fingernail, when you start shooting consistently and your shots start dropping lower and lower, you pass up your power band. You need to deduct how many shots. Say it was you shot 3 shots lower than your small hole, but you aimed in the same spot. That means you passed up your power band. So deduct 3 shots from that count, and that's going to give you where your optimal power band is. And I'm by no way an expert on air guns. I've been playing with them many number of years. Had a lot of DIY projects, and again, I don't really talk about air guns because a couple times I made YouTube videos. YouTube took them down. I made not really a tutorial. It was a video of me pouring lead in a mold and casting 357 bullets to use in my air rifle. And I didn't really talk much about the process. It was just a tripod with a camera over my melting pot, put the mold in, drop the lead in, dump it, repeat. I didn't talk much. It was a 4-minute video. YouTube flagged it and gave me a warning and took the video down because I was giving a tutorial how to make weapons. And there are hundreds of videos on YouTube explaining in detail how to cast your own bullets. Mine didn't make the cut. So I don't make air gun videos too often. But yeah, I'm gonna clean it, put it all back together. I'm probably gonna clean the barrel because I'm sure there's a layer of oil down the barrel. And then I'm gonna go try to shoot it, and I'll report back. Thank y'all for tuning in. I'm sorry if this video drug on a little longer, and sorry if I wasn't as specific as you wanted me to be. But I think I pretty much covered how to disassemble it, the problem I had, and how to resolve it. That's oil that came from here that was blown out of the barrel and going back through my shroud. Let me take you off my tripod without pushing any buttons, which is going to be difficult. Alright, all over my counter, you see oil right here? That's the oil that came from my rod. There's just oil residue everywhere on my counter that I'm going to have to wipe down and clean. And this was after the tube. I wiped it down with a Kleenex, passed it through quite a few times. There's all just oil. But yeah, thank y'all for viewing. Appreciate it. And I'm glad I finally had time to tear down my Origin and see what the problem was. And as you can see, there was definitely a problem. You should not have oil, this much oil in your air rifle. You know, oil is not going to be good. And also, when you pull this barrel band off, there's supposed to be a little plastic, like a ball, that goes in that groove. As you tighten the set screw, that little ball wedges these two tubes apart and keeps the tube tight. Mine either it was missing or I lost it, because I believe I loosened it up and pulled it apart when I made these vent holes. So I may have lost it then. I never noticed it. But I'm gonna put a piece of weed or string. I did manage to find another video of a guy pulling apart this EPT system, and he had the same problem. His didn't have it, whether he lost it or didn't come with it. But the solution was a piece of weed eater string. I got it cut to the length. Its purpose is just slides between these two tubes, and it wedges, spreading these apart, making it tight. But yeah, this video drug on long enough. I'll report back at a later time if this resolves my issue, which I'm confident it will. Thank y'all for viewing.